I'm Steve Beckerle. I live at 49 Beach Road, Stony Point, New York, on the beautiful Hudson River. We're about 50 miles from the mouth of the New York Harbor, going south to the Verrazano Bridge as the river runs. There's Grassy Point. To the south of Grassy Point, go down the river and you end up in New York City, about 40-50 miles down south. Across the river is Kruger's, Montrose Point, Verplanck. On this side there's Stony Point, the Stony Point battlefield, and here's my beautiful house at 49 Beach Road, Stony Point, New York. You would think being 40 or 50 miles north of the open Atlantic Ocean, Sandy wouldn't have affected us. But that is not true and was not true, and I can testify to that. We were hit hard by Sandy. The waves really were, if you look at that red, white, and blue flood marker, it was probably 2 feet over that flood marker. It was 11 feet higher than mean high tide. And if you look at the destruction, the Allison house is falling apart, the Brooks house was destroyed, Sullivan's garage was hit, but the water basically was to the top of the garage door there. The waves were blowing through these windows, and debris was coming through those sashes, those bottom sashes, so you had water basically to the bottom of those sashes blowing through this house. It's amazing this house still stands. But here it does. So it's a beautiful, brisk day. Sunday, March 16th, the day before St. Patrick's Day. This is the reason I bought my house. I love this weather. This is beautiful. It's almost, if you look across the river, you can almost envision Henry Hudson sailing up the Hudson River in 1609. Landed in the Haverstraw Bay, which is the widest point of the Hudson. This is what we're looking at now is the Stony Point Bay. But you can imagine back then in the 1600s, Hudson sailing up this river, meeting all these Algonquin Indians that have been here. We're in this Hudson River Valley for 10,000 years. 10,000 years. We've only been here for, well, my house was built in 1835, so that's 179 years from today. That's nothing compared to how long the Indians were here. But it is a long time ago if you think about it. 1835, it's before the Civil War, before the railroads, before the town of Stony Point was even incorporated. Before my family got here in 1859, the Beckerles. They came from Germany in 1859. This house was already here. Stony Point in those days, in the 1800s, was a hub of activity. Steamships sailing up and down this river. There was a dock right at the end of that Grassy Point. Martin Van Buren, the President of the United States, came down here in 1839 when he was president. The house was 4 years old at that point, and he landed at the Grassy Point ferry landing in 1839. Through the years, this house has seen a lot, but it has never seen a storm like Sandy, or it wouldn't be standing where it stands. I can attest to that because we rebuilt this house, fortified it, put a steel beam in the basement, and this house would not be standing if it had ever seen 4.5 feet of water through those front windows like it saw October 29th, 2012. Halloween storm, but it stands, and we're here to say it's going to stand for 100 more years if I have anything to do with it. I love it here. It's more than historic, it's more than pretty, it's spiritual. This is where we live.